You know who is turning out to be one of the biggest fascists in this country? That is the white South African racist Elon Musk. Yeah. He has been labeling the National Public Radio, NPR, as government-funded media. Yeah, NPR, National Public Radio, does get some of its money from government grants, but most of it, it's my understanding, comes from private donations. Anyway, NPR now says it's going to stop using Twitter after the white South African racist labeled NPR as government-funded media. So NPR now becomes the most prominent news organization to quit the Twitter social media platform since Elon Musk purchased it last year. What a bastard this guy is. What a Trump-sucking son of a bitch. Twitter and Musk tagged NPR's main account as, quote, state-affiliated media. And then they changed the language a little bit to government-funded last weekend. Now, like I said, NPR, which receives some taxpayer funds, but it's independently controlled, lambasted those disclaimers in a statement on Wednesday. Today, NPR said, quote, "We are not putting our journalism on platforms that have demonstrated an interest in undermining our credibility and the public's understanding of our editorial independence. We are turning away from Twitter, but not from our audiences and communities," end quote. I happen to love NPR. I really do. I like the television equivalent, too. Here in Georgia, it's Georgia Public Broadcasting. And some of the programming that comes from GBH in Boston, it comes from Chicago, it comes from these big affiliated NPR stations around the country. Some of that programming is just exemplary. I love it. NPR plans to no longer tweet from its flagship @NPR account, which has almost 9 million followers, or, from related accounts such as @NPR Music, which has nearly 800,000 followers. Now, NPR effectively stopped tweeting news updates last week. I hadn't noticed that. I don't think I get updates from NPR through Twitter. As a matter of fact, I know I don't. But they stopped tweeting those updates after that bullshit label state affiliated was added to its account. This white racist pig bastard from South Africa, Elon Musk. Oh my God. Anyway, in what was apparently its final tweets, all posted this morning, Wednesday morning, NPR directed readers to its newsletters and accounts on other social media platforms such as Facebook and TikTok. And by the way, at least 3 public radio stations, KCRW in Santa Monica, KEKU in Eastern Kentucky, and WESA in Pittsburgh, also announced that they would no longer post content on Twitter. Gee, I wonder why. But NPR itself, leaving, does escalate recent hostilities between news media in general and Elon Musk, the white South African racist. And you might say, if you were charitable, that this white South African racist has managed Twitter in a very erratic fashion. Yeah, that would be a good way to put it. Now, even Fox suspended its Twitter activity for 18 months, way back in 2018, this is way before the white racist South African owned it, but this was after protesters tweeted Tucker Carlson's home address. Oh, what's that called? Doxing? But Fox returned in 2020. CBS News suspended tweeting for 2 days, big whoop, in November. That was right after Musk bought Twitter, and he began undoing years' worth of security and anti-hate policies. I have a Twitter account, the Mike Malloy Show does, and I've tweeted a number of graphics that were sent to me by one of my listeners who has done so for years, Elise, who lives in L.A., but recently I've just almost stopped entirely because I know there's this idea of why let the bastard drive you away, but on the other hand, why support it? So while I haven't closed my account, even though I've considered it a couple of times now, I just don't use it that much anymore. Anyway, NPR has maintained since last week that Twitter and the racist white South African Elon Musk were trying to disparage NPR and other publicly funded news organizations by linking, for example, NPR with government propaganda outlets like Russia's RT and the Chi-Com's CCTV, all of which bear a state-affiliated media tag on Twitter. But those are propaganda outlets. NPR is not a propaganda outlet. Do you think? I damn sure don't. Oh, well. Anyway, who asked about this? I think it was NBC asked Twitter about seeking comment on this today, and you know how Twitter responded? How Elon Musk responded? With a poop emoji. Huh? Isn't that cute? Isn't that grown up? And this is the rotten racist pig bastard that is going to lead us to Mars? Oh, no, thank you. Anyway, in a memo to employees this morning, NPR's chief, John Lansing, wrote that, quote, actions by Twitter or other social media companies to tarnish the independence of any public media institution are exceptionally harmful and set a dangerous precedent. And in an interview with NPR the same day, which was this morning, I think it was on All Things Considered, or Morning Edition maybe. Anyway, Mr. Lansing said the company would not immediately return to Twitter, even if the labels were removed. He said, quote, at this point, I've lost my faith in the decision-making at Twitter. I would need some time to understand whether Twitter can be trusted again, end quote. Well, if I may add my 0.1% to NPR's chief executive, I would just say you don't need the bastards. Why do you want to associate yourself with a white South African Nazi anyway? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.